This is the Porsche 911 GT3. Porsche is one of the fastest cars out there in the world. And scientists, in order to make this car safe, crashed this car multiple times into a wall at different speeds. They tested the crash. They measured the crash, making it the dependent variable. What they changed on purpose is, you guessed it, the speed at which it hit the wall. They tested it at different speeds to see what that crash looked like. What's up? It's Mr. Marambo coming at you with more science. We are continuing our Growing Plants project by actually preparing the experiment and then finally doing it to collect its data. Make sure you read today's morning announcements and make your way to the do now that's titled, "What are you actually testing?" Here, I need you to write your name and to write your response by first reflecting on what my response looks like so you know what I'm looking for in terms of the expectation. Make sure to clearly indicate your single independent variable and also what your dependent variables are as well. Independent variable meaning the resource that you're changing on purpose, whether that means the amount of light or the amount of daily water or the type of plant, etc. And dependent meaning what you're actually measuring. For example, for Ms. Marambo, I'm testing how different amounts of daily water, my IV, is affecting a tomato plant's height and mass after 50 days of growing, which is, of course, my dependent variable. Make sure to look at everyone else's responses. It should look familiar in structure, but people just have different IVs and different DVs as well. Make your way to the data table. Questions 9 and 10 is what we're focusing on today. 9 is asking you to set up your experiment by writing down exactly what your groups look like. Now, if you haven't completed questions 1 through 8, I need you to pause right now because you need to be completely certain, confident about answering those questions before moving on. Now that we got that out of the way, go ahead and fill out your groups under pot, which means the different types of groups you have, and etc., etc. Type of seed, water per day. There we go. I went ahead and completed mine. Here are my groups. I have 11 different separate groups, which means I not only did 1, 2, 3 here, I did 8 more of these separately in my experiment. Now, you can have a different amount of groups. It just depends on really what you're testing. But remember, I have 1 control group and 10 other experimental groups. Experimental meaning that they actually got the different amounts of water. My control didn't, it has 0. If you need to know why, reflect back on our previous lessons. I highlighted water per day for 50 days because the water per day is my independent variable. That's the only thing changing per group. Everything else, like you said it, remains constant. The type of seed, the number of lights per day, and the type of soil. Now, let's go ahead and make that picture happen in the experiment. I've already set up 0, 10, and 20, which is these first 3 rows in my own experiment. So let's go ahead and see how they grow. And I'll be putting my data over in this section. This data table has all the groups. I'm doing A, B, and C right now, and I'll be writing the height and the mass after I see what happens. So go ahead and click play to see where it goes. So now we're at day 1 and it will shoot all the way to 50. Now that we're at 50, I can clearly see height and mass over here labeled. Obviously, you will have different dependent variables. Let's just stick with height and mass for the sake of my experiment. Here we go. I filled it out. Now I have to do the next 3 groups, which are 30, 40, 50. I went ahead and completed each pot and each experimental group and put all the data down here. Your data table will look different because you have different dependent variables. But if you get the framework of, hey, I have different groups, pot A is 1 group, pot B is another, pot C is another, pot D, E, F, and then I'll put the data here, then you got it, and then you're good and set for the day. Thank you for watching. I hope this was informative in leading you on how to perform and collect the data in your experiment. Make sure to complete the exit tickets at the end of the day at 3:30. But other than that, I wish that you have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much.